high school's vocal ensemble. Thank you for having us today. We're extremely honored. Our first song is Feeling Groovy.
Morning last, just kicking down the cobblestone. hold me, rock, hold me, rock, calm and easy. Hold me, rock, deep and wide. Hold me, rock, in your arms. I got a home, I got a home, I got a home, I got a home on the other side. My life is a running river, flowing from the mountains to a distant sea. I've known many hills and valleys, but when I reach that ocean,
song goes back a few years, basically the 50s, I guess, and our two soloists are Zach and Alex. I'm sure you recognize the song.
Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. Do 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 shaboo.
Life could be a dream.
Shaboo.
If I could take you up in paradise up above. If you would tell me I'm the only one that you love.
Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again. Shaboo, guess hoping we meet again.
Life could be a dream. If only all my precious plans would come true. If you would let me spend my whole life loving you. Life could be a dream, sweetheart.
Every time I look at you, something is on my mind. If you do what I want you to, baby, we'd be so fine.
Life could be a dream. If I could take you up in paradise up above. If you would tell me I'm the only one that you love.
Life could be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again. Shaboo, guess hoping we meet again.
Life could be a dream. If only all my precious plans would come true. If you would let me spend my whole life loving you. Life could be a dream, sweetheart.
Shaboom, shaboom. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Shaboom, shaboom. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da. Shaboom, shaboom. Ya-da-da-da-da-da-da. Life could be a dream. Shaboom, if I could take you up in paradise up above. Shaboom, if you would tell me I'm the only one that you love. Life could be a dream. Kiss today goodbye. The sweetness and the sorrow. Wish me luck the same to you. But I can't regret what I did for love. What I did for love. Look, my eyes are dry. The gift was ours to borrow. It's as if we always knew. And I won't forget what I did for love. What I did for love. Love is never gone, never gone. As we travel on, love's what will remember.
time I Feel the Spirit, our soloists are AC, Ellie, and Anna.
Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray.
On the mountain, my Lord spoke. Out his mouth came fire and smoke. Down in the valley, on my knees, ask my Lord, have mercy, please.
Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray.
Jordan River, chilly and cold, chills the body, not the soul. All around me look so fine. Ask my Lord, woe is mine.
Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray.
Ain't but one train on this track runs to heaven and right back. St. Peter waiting at the gate said, "Come on, sinner, don't be late."
Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit in my heart, yes, I will pray. I will pray. I will pray.
Good evening. This is the special school board meeting for September 23rd, 2014. It is now in session. Pam, roll call, please.
Mrs. Henderson?
Here?
Mrs. Nisi?
Here.
Dr. Krupp?
Here.
Dr. Murray?
Here.
Mr. Ziegler?
Here.
This evening, we have two students from Astronaut High School to assist us in the opening exercises. Bethany Marsh, 10th grade, will present the invocation, followed by senior Alex Folger, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I would like to ask you both to remain at the podium so we will have an opportunity to ask you a few questions and learn more about you.
This side, right? Okay.
Whichever side you want. No.
Really?
No.
This poem is called A Youth Garden by L.G. A wellspring of efflorescence, young petals open to bright light. They're thirsting in adolescence as teenagers bold and forthright. But deep within a moistened earth, rooted under a fertile soil, buds need a nurturing from birth or their robust stems will recoil. We plant the seeds in the ground for nutrients for growth in space. Now let's make sure that it is sound. There where they stand, let there be grace.
Thank you. Alex?
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance for this wonderful nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alex, you can just stay there and I'll ask you a few questions. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm 17 years old. I go to Astronaut High School. I'm a member of the JROTC, the wonderful chamber ensemble. I was part of the varsity wrestling team for 2 years, football team, track and field. Basically, I do a lot. I'm even in this year's play, so this is new for me, and it's exciting. So, how are we all doing today? We doing good? Well, I'm glad we were all doing good. How are you guys doing?
We're great because you are our first school to do a performance for us this school year.
Did we do good?
And you are awesome. We really
so
enjoyed it. It also says here that you do video games and
Yes.
What other things do you do outside of school?
Well, I'm a man of simple tastes. I just like to game, hang out with my friends, and I like to listen to heavy metal. That's my kind of thing. I'm a pretty simple man. I enjoy the finer things. I want to enlist in the United States Navy as an IS, hopefully go officer through a program. So.
Oh, very good. Do you have anyone with you here tonight?
I have my family.
Okay, not your mom and dad. That's so sweet. And do you have any pets?
Huh?
Do you have any pets?
Yes, I have 2 dogs and I have 2 cats.
So what's the best thing about your school?
Whew.
Besides chorus.
The best thing about Astronaut High School, I don't know, besides, all of my friends, it would be the student body just in general. We all have our little social cliques. Mine is JROTC. I couldn't ask for a better brotherhood at Astronaut High School. And that would probably be the best thing, the connections with each other.
Oh, that's very nice. If you had an opportunity to change something at your school, what advice would you give to us to change at your school?
Well, it would definitely be the lunches. But
I'm so
but
surprised
you guys,
by that.
It has been noticeable that it has been getting steadily increasing, so thank you very much. But if I could change one thing, it would be probably funding for JROTC and fine arts, totally.
We agree with you. Thank you. Well, thank you for being with us tonight. And now, Bethany, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Bethany Marsh. I'm 15 years old. I'm a part of the Student Government Association and AHS Ensemble, and I'm in 10th grade.
Well, you keep pretty busy in school. What other activities do you have outside of school?
I take piano lessons, and I teach piano lessons, so there's a little contrast just a little bit in the two. I am very involved in my church. I'm the director of my youth ministry, music, and that sums it up.
And it says here that you are a nursing home visitor? Could you
I
tell
do.
us?
Every other Tuesday, I go and visit them and sometimes sing songs for them. And it's just nice because a lot of them don't get family there.
That is a great thing to do. That's very honorable. We don't test for that. No, we don't. Do you have anyone with you tonight? Is your
I
parents-
do not.
Okay.
Just my friends over there.
Okay, and what do you want to do when you graduate?
Probably
years.
go on and get my music education, just music in general.
Okay, and you want to be a teacher?
Yes.
Oh, very nice. And what do you like best about your school?
Being really specific, there's this pizza bread at school, and and it has pepperonis in it, and it comes with marinara sauce, and the bread is fluffy most of the time. It depends on the day. I have to say that's my most favorite of them all.
All right, and if there was something you would change at your school?
Well, in the history classes, I feel like it goes more into world religions and other countries, but I feel like American history is not brought forth enough and brought up enough, and it doesn't really go into a lot of detail. So I think I'd like American history to be more taught.
American, huh?
Yeah, more American.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure talking to both of you. You've been a lot of fun this evening, and we have enjoyed the performance. And it is now my pleasure to introduce the 9th through 12th grade vocal ensemble from Astronaut High School under the direction of music director Michael Coppola. Like I said, we've enjoyed it before. Come on back and give us another performance. No, she's not. No, world history is.
Slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the morning last. Just kicking
That was wonderful. You really sound professional. You guys do an awesome job and make Brevard County proud. You're welcome. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Coppola and all of you wonderful students for coming out in the rain tonight to entertain us. We appreciate it. And we're going to take a 5-minute break and let them gather their things. We're back. That brings us to the adoption of the agenda. Dr. Bingley.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson and members of the board. On the published agenda, we have administrative staff recommendations, 2 recognition items, 4 resolution proclamations, 1 presentation, 16 consent items not previously submitted for information, 4 consent items previously submitted for information, 1 action item, and 5 information items. You also have the yellow supplemental agenda, which are changes made to the agenda since being released to the public. There is 1 revision to item A7 on the administrative staff recommendations. Also, under the consent agenda, you have 1 addition, item F17 on student expulsions, and 2 revisions, item F20 on the purchasing bids, RFPs, RFQs, and sales and service agreements, and item F22 on instructional staff recommendations.
That's it. I have a different. Okay, what are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
It was moved by Dr. Krupp, seconded by Mr. Ziegler. Any discussion? Let's vote. Mine did not end. Motion carries 5-0. That brings us to the administrative staff recommendations. Dr. Bingley.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. There are 2 items for the board to consider under this category.
What are the wishes of the board?
To approve.
Second. Moved by Dr. Krupp, seconded by Dr. Murray. Any discussion? Let's vote. Oh, okay. Motion carries 5-0. Dr. Bingley.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson and members of the board. I would like to now take this opportunity to not only congratulate but welcome to the Brevard family Misty Cruz on her appointment to the position of assistant principal at Palm Bay Magnet High School effective October 6th, 2014. Ms. Cruz, introduce yourself to us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening. I'm very excited to serve Brevard Public Schools, and I'm very excited to be part of the Pirate family now. I feel like I've won the lottery when it comes to principals, so thank you, Mr. Thomas. With me today.
Well, maybe it was one of the scratch-offs, maybe not the main line,
With me, I have my family that I would like to introduce who have supported me. This is my son, Ricky, my daughter, Emily, a close family friend, Lindsay, and my mom, thank you, who is here, Anne. So thank you very much. I'm excited to be part of the family now. Thank you.
Ms. Cruz, we certainly welcome you, and I always take this opportunity to thank those who came with you. They're going to be with you today and beyond that, and we know that, and I never lose the opportunity to say thank you to them for the love and the patience that it takes to let us do the work that we do for the children that we serve. So we welcome you and know that you're going to hit the ground running.
Thank you, Dr. Bingley, and welcome. Before we move on, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome a few guests prior to the official portion of the meeting. With this evening, we have Eastern Florida State College Education faculty members Susan Lamb Merritt and Marissa Koch, along with their students. Would you please stand? Our future educators, thank you for being here. Yeah, they look great. Thank you for joining us. That brings us to the recognition of visitors and awards. Dr. Bingley.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. There are 2 recognition items on this evening's agenda. Our first is item B8, and it is our Spotlight on Education segment, which shares many of the exciting, innovative, and excellent programs and activities and projects that are happening in our schools. And featured with us this evening is Coquina Elementary School, who will be sharing a video that highlights their partnership with Eckerd Youth Alternatives, a youth services program who provides social emotional skills to all 3rd through 6th grade Coquina students. So we welcome with us tonight Coquina Principal, Ms. Katrina Hudson, and Mr. Mike King, Early Intervention High Five Coordinator, as our presenters. Welcome.
Hello, I'm Mike King, and I'm with Eckert, and I have a little video I wanted to show you of what we kind of do at the school there.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, and it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We all a part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. Well, send them your heart, so they know that someone cares, and their lives will be stronger and free, as God has shown us by turning stone to bread. And so we all must lend a helping hand. We are the world, we are the children, we are the ones to make a brighter day, so let's start giving. Oh, there's a choice we're making, we're saving our lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. When you're down and out, there seems no hope at all. But if you just believe, there's no way we can fall. Well, learn to realize, oh, that a change can only come when we stand together as one. We are the children, we are the ones who make a brighter day, so let's start giving. There's a choice we're making, we're saving our own lives, gonna make a better. I got no strings to hold me down, to make me fret or make me frown. I had strings, but now I'm free. There are no strings on me. Hi ho, the merry-o, that's the only way to be. I want the world to know nothing ever worries me. I got no strings, so I have fun. I'm not tied up to anyone. They got strings, but you can see there are no strings on me. You have no strings, your arms is free to love me by the side of thee. Yeah, 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 if you would woo, I'd boost my strings for you.
And that was the short film of some of the stuff that we do up there at Coquina.
Any questions?
Ms. Hudson, you're not that shy. Do you want to let people realize why you might not have said more than you?
I guess I can.
That's enough. Yeah, that's all you needed.
But we do appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you very much, and thank you for what the Eckert Foundation and group does to support our kids. We really, really certainly appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And now, item B9 is the 2014 Principal Achievement Award for Outstanding Leadership and Outstanding Assistant Principal Achievement Award. Deborah Pace, Associate Superintendent of Human Resources, will be presenting, and here she comes.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Bingley, and our community. I'm very excited tonight to get to honor a couple of our just outstanding administrators here in Brevard Public Schools. The Principal Achievement Award for Outstanding Leadership and the Outstanding Assistant Principal Achievement Award were established in 1988 to recognize exemplary principals and assistant principals for their contributions to their schools and their communities. The programs honor principals and assistant principals who have spearheaded initiatives to increase student performance, promote safe learning environments, and establish partnerships with parents and community members. This year's nominees were nominated by their peers and selected through a process involving a formal interview with the superintendent and key district leaders. And at this time, I'm honored to bring to the podium and introduce to you Dr. Michael Miller, principal of Saturn Elementary School, and Heather Price, assistant principal at Brevard Virtual School, along with Mrs. Henderson, our board chair, Dr. Bingley, our superintendent, and with us tonight as well to help us in honoring these fine folks is Mr. Gary Schifrin, former principal of Merritt Island High School and executive director of the Brevard Association of School Administrators, president of BASA, Pam O'Kell, and two of our just outstanding community partners with the Community Credit Union, Ms. Meredith Gibson and Deborah Blair. If you'd all come to the front, please. Okay, do you want to say it now or do you want me to introduce them first? Receiving Brevard's 2014 Outstanding Assistant Principal Achievement Award is Heather Price. Heather has been an educator with Brevard Public Schools for 18 years, serving in the capacity of social studies, economics, and resource teacher, and currently serving as the assistant principal at Brevard Virtual School. Mrs. Price earned her bachelor's degree in social sciences from Stetson University in 1996, her master's degree in educational leadership from Nova Southeastern in 2001. Ms. Price has truly done an outstanding job supporting all BPS students with virtual options. She is responsive to school administration and guidance counselors. She has exceptional communication skills. Student learning is her #1 priority. She offers extra assistance and support for students and parents interested in virtual learning opportunities, and she ensures that tutoring, scaffolding, and other differentiated strategies are in place to help even the most reluctant learners. She can be trusted to research complex and changing rules and guidelines in order to find a solution that works for the school and the student. Congratulations, Mrs. Price, Brevard Public Schools 2014 Assistant Principal of the Year. Right there. Stay put, though. Okay. Dr. Michael Miller has been an educator with Brevard Public Schools for 33 years. He's beginning his 16th year as a school principal at Saturn Elementary School, serving the community of Cocoa. Before assuming this principal role, he served as assistant principal at Cambridge Elementary for 5 years, and prior to that was a teacher at Audubon Elementary in University Park since 1982. In 1976, he received his bachelor's degree in education from Concord College, later obtaining his master's degree in special ed from Marshall University in 1983. And in 2010, he received his doctorate's degree in educational leadership from Argosy University. Dr. Miller is a model instructional leader, creating an environment where student achievement results are consistently monitored and used to drive instruction. Dr. Miller's goal is for every student to reach his or her potential, and celebration of student learning is evident throughout his campus. It is no accident that his students perform with a high level of success consistently. Congratulations, Dr. Miller, Brevard Public Schools 2014 Principal of the Year.
Saturn's in the house.
Thank you for coming. Get all around there, name it, some to the left, some to the right, some behind. Let me make the comments. Properly down in front of them. Might be you, yeah.
Good, Krista. That's a good.
Okay, stay put. I think we want everybody to stay put for just a minute.
School board members, Dr. Bingley, I would like to thank Deborah Pace for asking the Brevard Association of School Administrators and Affiliates to participate in this recognition this evening. With me is Pam O'Kell, principal of Apollo Elementary School and our current BASA president, and we're also very fortunate to have partnered with the Community Credit Union and have with us, again, Deborah Blair and Vice President of Marketing, Meredith Gibson. Having spent a few years in the Brevard school system, I know without any doubt that this is truly one of the best, if not the best, district in the state of Florida. And I would say that the heart and soul of our success is due to the many outstanding teachers who on a daily basis provide the very best education possible to the thousands of students who attend our schools. At the same time, if you were to ask any of those students, how is it that they are able to be so successful, they will tell you about a school administrator who supports them, provides them with necessary resources, mentors them, displays a genuine interest in what they do, and is always there for them to encourage their passion for teaching and learning. Our two honorees tonight represent all that I just mentioned and more. They are the true professional who are very committed to the district mission of providing excellence for all students. The Brevard Association of School Administrators, in partnership with the Community Credit Union, are honored to have this opportunity to present an honorarium to our District Principal of the Year from Saturn Elementary School, Dr. Michael Miller, and our Assistant Principal of the Year from the Brevard Virtual School, Heather Price. Congratulations to you both, and know that this significant achievement is very well deserved.
Thank you again.
Dr. Miller, before the Saturn crew leaves, I will point out to all of you and to our community and to the audience, as you all know, it was the University of South Florida that had identified schools that, yeah, there you go, in the state of Florida. I think it was 11 of them or so. We had 2 of them that they just said, do so much for kids that we have to go see what they do. And they visited Saturn Elementary, and I just have to tell you that they came back and they just couldn't wait to just say to me and to others, they just care deeply about kids, and they don't think that there's not anything that their kids can't do if they just help them get there. And so you need to know that they understood the culture that exists in your school, and they didn't question for 1 minute why the data told them that children there achieve. So congratulations and thank you very much.
That brings us to resolutions and proclamations. Dr. Bingley.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. There are 4 resolutions, proclamations on tonight's agenda. Michelle Irwin, Director of Community Relations, will read each of them. The first one is item C10, which is to proclaim October 13th through the 17th, 2014 as National School Lunch Week, Mr. Thornton, and it is a big night, see, because it might be a year till a student says that's one of the highlights of their school, the school lunch, and that happened tonight. So, Ms. Irwin.
Whereas the National School Lunch Program has served our nation admirably for over 60 years through advanced practices in nutrition education, and whereas the National School Lunch Program is dedicated to the health and well-being of our nation's children, and whereas the National School Lunch Program has been joined through the years by many other excellent child feeding programs, and there is evidence of continued need for nutrition education and awareness of the value of school nutrition programs, now therefore be it resolved that the School Board of Brevard County, Florida, hereby proclaims the week of October 13th through 17th, 2014 as National School Lunch Week.
What are the wishes of the board?
Approve the resolution, especially the pizza bread.
Moved by Dr. Krupp, seconded by Mrs. Nisi. Any discussion?
As long as we all get pizza bread by the
Yeah.
end. Okay.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0.
Item C11 is a resolution for National School Bus Safety Week. Ms. Irwin.
Whereas every year the nation's 480,000 public school buses travel more than 4.4 billion miles to transport over 25 million children, more than half of America's school children, to and from school and school-related activities, and whereas Brevard School District's excellent safety record in transporting over 25,000 students each day on 332 school buses has been achieved and must be maintained, and whereas school bus transportation is one of the safest forms of transportation in the United States, and school buses comprise the country's largest mass transportation fleet, and whereas school buses meet higher construction, equipment, and inspection standards than any other vehicle, and school bus drivers must meet higher qualifications, training, and testing standards than any other drivers, and whereas the theme of this year's National School Bus Safety Week is At My Stop, You Stop, and whereas motorists must remember to stop when a school bus has stopped and has its stop arm extended and red lights flashing, and whereas activities during School Bus Safety Week and throughout the year provide evidence of Brevard School District's commitment to ensure the health and safety of school children who ride school buses, as well as students that walk, bicycle, or ride in cars to the school. Now therefore be it resolved that the Brevard School Board does hereby proclaim October 20th, 24th, 2014 as Florida School Bus Safety Week. That's a long one. Sorry.
What are the wishes of the board?
Can you repeat that?
No.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Murray, seconded by Dr. Krupp. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion carries 5-0.
Item C12 is to recognize and proclaim the month of November as Family Engagement and Education Month. Ms. Irwin?
Whereas America's character begins in the home, where children learn and proper standards of conduct and values, and whereas creating an environment where learning takes place not just in a classroom, but as a central part of family life requires that families play a more active role in their child's education, and whereas families provide children with the encouragement, support, and love they need to become confident, compassionate, and successful members of society, and whereas we must work together to promote and preserve the health and security of our families by upholding the timeless values that have sustained our society throughout history, and whereas parents should be the most prominent and active figures in their children's lives, recognizing that by spending more family time together, they can develop positive and open relationships with their children, which will allow them to better engage their children and encourage them to make positive choices, and whereas state residents, schools, and civic institutions can assist families by helping to meet the needs of all those who live in our communities, and whereas, as we work together to strengthen our families, we build a nation of hope and opportunity for all, now, therefore, be it resolved by the School Board of Brevard County, Florida, that the month of November 2014 is recognized as Family Engagement and Education Month across Brevard Public Schools.
Thank you, Ms. Irwin. Nicely done. Thank you. What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve and underline, underline, underline.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, let's vote. I love technology. The motion carries 5-0.
Item C13 is to adopt a resolution declaring October 1st through the 15th, 2014 as Disability History and Awareness Instruction Weeks.
Whereas the School Board of Brevard County is based upon the principle that all individuals shall have the opportunity to gain the knowledge and skills necessary to achieve their full potential and contribute to the general welfare of the community. And whereas educational programs for exceptional students, including students with disabilities and students who are gifted, incorporate this fundamental principle. And whereas students with disabilities receive a variety of specialized services and instruction that enable them to participate in and benefit from educational activities, and whereas access to assistive technology and communication devices such as Braille, large print materials, sign language, and other accommodations to the general curriculum allow students with disabilities to participate in classroom activities, benefit from instruction, and demonstrate their capabilities, and whereas students with disabilities are provided with transition services to prepare them to attain their desired post-school outcomes, including post-secondary education, employment, and adult living, and whereas students who are gifted are provided with advanced academic opportunities through acceleration and enrichment activities that help them expand their horizons and reach their potential, whereas the School Board of Brevard County has demonstrated its commitment to school improvement and accountability for all students, which will increase positive outcomes for Brevard's over 12,900 exceptional students ages birth to 21, and whereas nearly 1,000 Brevard County school teachers, paraprofessionals, therapists, and other educators work daily to assist these students and their parents to achieve their goals and progress on the path to excellence, and whereas their contributions are worthy of recognition and appreciation. Now, therefore, the School Board of Brevard County, Florida, does hereby declare the first 2 weeks in October as Disability History and Awareness Instruction Weeks.
Thank you, Ms. Irwin. What are the wishes of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Krupp, seconded by Mr. Ziegler. Any discussion? Let's vote. That's a lot. Motion carries 5-0. That brings us to the presentation portion of tonight's agenda. Dr. Bingley, you're ready to go.
I am ready, I think, except for it's not showing up. Oh, it is there, but not there.
And it's not here either.
Oh, there it goes. Thank you, Ms. Henderson and members of the board. And once again, I come to you to provide you and our viewing audience with just a brief update on some of our students and our schools' academic achievements. Before I do that, I will say this. I think that it probably would be surprising that I do believe that there are two things that everyone in this room would likely agree on. And that is one, that there has to be ways that we measure our success in providing great schools and great learning opportunities and success for our students. We have to do that. And I think we all agree that no one measure, and certainly not one test, should be the exclusive way we do that. Now, I keep coming before you because this is indeed the time of year that we get information from varied assessments and programmatic efforts that we do track as part of our strategic plan outcomes that certainly demonstrate that we absolutely are and should be valuing much more than state assessments in helping us evaluate our mission delivery. Now, we do use state tests as one piece of information, and I have shared with you a few meetings ago that our schools overall had gains. That's great. That our bottom quartile learning gains went up for the third year in a row. That's a gap closing measure. We pay attention to that in our strategic plan. You know that's great. Our 1 and our 3-year value added measure scores are all-time highs. They indeed, as I shared with you a few meetings ago, show that our students scored higher than would have been predicted when compared to students like them throughout the state, and that's great as well. But I have also, in the past few meetings, brought to you that our students continue to receive way more than their share of all-state music selections, as well as state and international winners in future problem solving, Odyssey of the Mind, Science and Engineering Fair Research. I've shared with you that our students last year saw record participation and achievement highs in AP, IB, and Cambridge assessments. We've had the Florida School Honoree in the National Jefferson Award Program for volunteer service 2 of the last 3 years. We have 3 of the state's 6 national AVID demonstration sites. We have more model professional learning community schools than any district and indeed any state in the nation. We have big subgroup gap closing on our graduation rate. I've shared all those with you. And so tonight, I actually have a few more, and these you have not seen because they just came in. I have told you about a couple of them, so let me start, if I can. There we go. Now, I did share with you this, but this is the updated, that we closed the books on our industry certification, and that's what we've done since 2009 to last year. A significant increase in the number of tests that our kids are taking, and a significant increase in our pass rate, 64% in SolidWorks. If you're an engineer, that means something to you. I've mentioned that once again we have the only kids in Florida that passed the Chief Architect certification. This is one we just became aware of. We are now starting to see our kids earning those industry credentials out of our water treatment academy, and we are the only district in Florida that kids are earning that credential. And I just want to share with you that Ms. Schultz let me know that what that means, and by the way, we have the only 4 kids. There'll be more next year and more after that. That's what we've seen as our academies begin to get underway. But those young people come out with a level C water operator anywhere in Florida, and after 1 year of full-time employment, they can become a fully licensed by the DEP. And just so you know, according to recruiter.com, a water treatment plant operator's average compensation is $42,000. So our young people take this credential and they have a living wage immediately out of high school. And that's the same for a lot of these industry certification tests. I have given you the score, but I didn't bring this to you, and I wanted to share the breakdown. I did share with you that we did have a good gain in our ACT composite, but I haven't shared with you on the bottom. And I think there's a few important things in there, and not the least of which, if you look on the left, the English component, and you will see that not only do we have a large gain when the state stood stagnant, But it is the part of the test, the ACT, that our kids outperform the state by the most. It's quite significant how much higher they are. Remember, all of our kids take the ACT, and it's just college bound through the state of Florida. But the important thing there is that is the test that is predicting whether young people are ready to be successful in college-level English composition. Now, as we've wrestled with the writing results, and we have for years, and once again, superintendent's question whether, are those the way they should be? This is a measure that tells us, like other measures in technical writing and persuasive writing and just powerful writing, that our kids are being successful in that area. So those were good gains across all fronts. Now, a few board meetings ago, I told you that ACT was embargoed and I couldn't wait to share you. Well, guess what? We have SAT results. Oops, they're embargoed till October 7th. So let me just say to you, I can't wait to tell you about our SAT results. I look forward to doing that, and I will leave it at that. This is one we just received. We had 3 of our schools earn Florida Power Library, and this is a very, very rigorous program. I'll just read a description. It really is awarded to schools that nurture focused, systemic change through involvement of the entire school staff in developing and implementing a plan that integrates the library media program with teacher collaboration and student achievement. We have 53% of the Power Library schools identified in the state of Florida. And part of that, folks, I've shared this with you before. We have 2.6% of the students in Florida, but we have 4% of the media specialists in Florida, along with media assistants that we have still been able to preserve in our schools. There are schools all over the state that can't even compete for this award because they don't even have a media specialist. We have protected that by prioritizing the way that we use our dollars. And it's not an accident that we have over half of the Power Library schools that serve the kids in this state. It's a huge win and victory for the schools that work so hard to earn that. I will tell you this one we just received. 27 students in Brevard, National Merit Scholarship semifinalist. This goes back to 1985, 30 years, and that is the largest number of kids we've ever had as National Merit semifinalists. But maybe even more importantly, they come from 12 different schools in Brevard, and that is the highest number of schools that have ever had a National Merit semifinalist in this county. There are only 214 kids that earned that in the state of Florida. We have 12.6% of the kids in Florida who are National Merit Scholarship semifinalists. And so we are very proud of that as well. And I promised it would be short. As we keep getting these things, I will bring them to you. As you know, once we still are waiting on the final school grade calculations with some things in graduation rate and so forth. But when we ultimately have our strategic plan workshop, we bring all these things together because they are the things that we think matter. And that we measure them because they are important for children. So with that, I'm proud. Let me just say this. We have the greatest teachers, school staff that work on behalf of the children of this community, and that's why we accomplish what we accomplish. So
thank you, Dr. Bingley. Anybody have any questions or comments for Dr. Bingley? Okay, then just stay there for just a second.
Oh, okay.
Because I know this was not on the agenda, but while you were there,
yeah.
I was wondering if you could provide the board and the community with an update on the details on the process that will be utilized for the Independent Oversight Committee?
Yeah, we felt it was important, honestly, that, as you know, in the ballot language for the sales surtax, there is the Independent Citizens Oversight Committee that will be formed. It is in the ballot language very intentionally. So I wanted to talk a minute to the board and as well as to our community about the process in advance of the vote, so our citizens will know the steps that we are, in fact, taking to guarantee that we have both inclusiveness as well as independence in the selection of this committee. What we're looking to do is create a very short application that will be available through not only our website but several others, venues, for any Brevard citizen to fill out and send in that actually to an auditing firm that has agreed to collect these applications and just hold on to them. And so any citizen that wants to can put in that application. We are then going to be asking for a group of parent leaders, North, Central, South, as well as some business leaders, North, Central, South, and we've had some discussion about the chambers providing us with just a member that would like to do that, as well as a member from the Capital Outlay Committee. And what they will do is they will take these applications, look at them, and try to identify 7 to 11 people who really do represent multiple stakeholders, multiple kind of geographic, do we need a retiree, do we need a, and that kind of thing. They will then select that group of individuals. A charter is actually being established, and which really will lay out the oversight powers, duties, responsibilities, and that will be, in fact, brought to the board, probably at the next meeting, I think, perhaps, and for your approval, so that this process would be set in motion. It would be ready to go in the event that the community does, in fact, support the surtax. But, we do want you and we want our community to know that we wanted to put a process in place that would be ready, but would also answer those questions of inclusiveness, transparency, independence, and we think we've been able to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Bingley.
Okay, thank you.
That brings us to public comment. The maximum allotted time for each speaker is 3 minutes. Clarification of information presented and answers to the questions specific to district business and educational matters will be posted on the school board's website under the section called For the Record. Please speak into the microphone and state your name for the record. And we have 5 speakers tonight: Dean Paterakis, Martha Franco, Kinley Nagel, Denise Coyle, and Tina Diskovich, in that order. Mr. Paterakis. We have 4 speakers tonight, and the first one will be Martha Franco. I don't know.
Martha Franco, retired educator, classroom teacher. I'm here tonight. I was quite shocked when I got back from a trip that on the evening of the 8th of September, that the school board was going to be making changes in our school board insurers. I speak on behalf of all the retired educators that are retired, that this would be changing. For all these years, how long Brevard County has been in existence, we have been assured about the Brevard School Board carrying on this insurance. You're going to something else. I guarantee you what you're going to do. I think we need to know because we only have a short time before January 1. I was shocked when the school board insurance went up $40 more per month for a retired person, teacher. And then we get this news, and I think in the state of Florida we should have one insurance for the whole state, and this would be so sufficient. The state I'm from, it all comes from the state capitol. I presented this to legislators before. 67 counties doing 67 different ways, which is very, very expensive. And I want you to be sensitive to us. And with this insurance, when legislators can get insurance of single coverage for $834 a month, $24 a family, and school board members, you can get it like an active employee. Let's think about people who have been teaching for some of them, more than 45 years, and I think it kind of put us out to pasture. And I think this needs to be up in the time when you want us to vote on the half cent on the referendum. Again, I have come before the school board many times on this opposition to testing all the time. I've been so bitterly opposed to the FCAT and in opposition to all this testing. And I think it's long overdue, which I've meant to bring this up before. I think it's about time to bring it up. All this testing, I think our politicians in the legislature and you, the school board, you need to take a test to see if you're qualified to be in the job you're in. Let's set this for the children. Teachers should teach in the classroom. Teaching should be done in the classroom. Testing should come later. Too much time is you teach to the test. When I was in college, you teach the child, not the book. Okay, and another thing that I would like to bring up, that there's been a lot of bullying in the schools, and it's very, very upsetting to me as I read about it and what has been happening. I want to ask you, I know texting and cellular phone usage in a car is very dangerous, very. I want to know, nowadays everybody walks around with a cellular phone stuck on their hip. I've had one for 23 years and I've never used it, never used it in my classroom. I just wonder, are teachers allowed to have these cellular phones in the classroom? And are they allowed to use them?
I'm sorry,
Their
your
eyes
time's
should
up.
be on the children all the time and, you know, never turn away from those children. And that
Your
is-
time's up. Sorry.
Excuse me?
It's been 3 minutes. Kinley
Okay, I'm
Nagel?
not finished, but I guess I have to stop.
Kinley Nagel? I know, right?
I'm Kinley Nagel. I always love an opportunity to share about my work. I'm a certified special ed teacher, and I have research that says our children are not born with learning disabilities, that our environment is causing the learning disabilities. So as the school board knows, I would love the opportunity to share and to train and teach teachers, community leaders, administrators, support staff about my work. There is such potential out there. Our children do not have to be failing. I had huge success in the public schools working with these children when I recognized that their emotional needs were not being met. And I would love the opportunity to share and inform people about my work. I've seen it, my success in the classrooms over and over. And the thing that we need to talk about honestly, she shared about bullying, but let's be honest, where are our children learning this from? Us. The point of the bullying in our society is so oppressive. When adults bully other adults and we don't talk about it, our children know to be afraid. This extent of the bullying, I'm here to help children, but we have to be honest about what's going on, and I would like to start having honest conversations with people in your capacity about what is really going on. The emotional effect of our society on our children is mind-blowing. Our children are withdrawn, isolated, they're fearful, that causes learning disabilities, mental illness, and the violence you see in our schools. It is profound the way our society is affecting our children. And we must start talking honestly about it, because our children, the rate in which they're developing learning disabilities is alarming. We have to stop labeling them. There's nothing wrong with our children. We can't point fingers to parents, schools, children. It's bigger than that. It is our society, and it is terrifying. People are so terrified, they cannot speak the truth, and our children know, and they are terrified, so don't fool yourself. Thank you for the opportunity to speak honestly again, and hopefully it will go somewhere. I'm still here, bringing hope, strength, and courage. Have to make a change by hiring me. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Coyle. And then Dina Diskovich is next.
How you doing? Denise Coyle. I'm also a candidate for School Board District 5. We are in a crisis. I was just told again this week we've lost three teachers, 3 of our best. I asked all 3 of them why. They simply answered they can't take it any longer. The damage that we are creating with this standardized assessments and over-testing is destroying our students and our teachers. Our education system has been hijacked by greedy corporations raking in billions off the backs of our students. This board shared in the last meeting with all of the concerned parents and teachers at the last board meeting that you have been talking to those people in Tallahassee. So you are not blue in the face, but purple in the face. I have spoken to Senator Gatz just recently. He's the president of the Florida Senate. He shares, and I quote, "I have not spoken to this Brevard school board on any subject whatsoever for at least a year. I have not an occasion to call any board member," end of quote. Mrs. Nisi, you shared with parents and other teachers of the lowest board member after the meeting with FSBA that there were certain people in leadership that threatened you, threatened your salaries, the board salaries, benefits, retaliation could possibly come. In an email shared and dated on September 17th, and I quote from you, Mrs. Nisi, "I was told the legislator who made the threats was Senator Gates." Again, a quote from Senator Gates. He unequivocally denies these rumors. The recent article in Florida Today from Representative Steve Crisfulli has certainly created yet another firestorm, and quite evidenced by the response by the Florida Today comments and is on his own Facebook page. I'm even more concerned of his connection with you, Mr. Ziegler, clearly giving me an indication that he shares the same support and views that you have as he hosted your fundraiser. Our kids are not testing machines, and they deserve your protection, not empty political rhetoric and misinformation. We deserve the truth. No one argues against accountability. The amount of tests, their quality, and the cost deserves and demands our full attention, your full attention. We are in a crisis.
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tina Diskovich. I know.
Hi, I'm Tina Deskovich. I'm a mom of 2 children in Brevard Public Schools. I have a 1st grader and an 8th grader. I'm also here representing the Opt-Out Brevard movement. We are a new group that has formed just in the last month, but we are supported by an ever-growing group around the country. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Opt-Out Lee County. We have a large Opt-Out Orlando group, and now we're here at Brevard. The mission of Brevard Public Schools is to serve every student with excellence as a standard. And we, as Opt-Out Brevard, feel what's going on in our schools right now is not serving every student with excellence. It's not the fault of our teachers. It's not the fault of our administrators. I love the schools that my boys go to. I'm a product of Brevard Public Schools, and I'm honored to be one. I appreciated watching Dr. Bingley's report about how wonderful we're doing as a school district, about how well we do even outside of testing. But we're fearful for the year coming up with all these new state-mandated tests that have come down. We realize as a district that you all have made some of the district-level tests now optional, and we're grateful for that help. But we are extremely concerned about the state-mandated tests that are new this year for all grade levels. We're coming to the school board tonight to ask for your help. We're wearing red because we feel like this is an emergency. Our children, teachers, and schools need relief from these state-mandated tests. Legally, we know that parents can opt out. We've learned this from other counties. What we're asking from you all is that you all prepare a formal and simple avenue for our children and our parents to help our children to opt out. We want our administrators and our teachers and our parents and our students to all understand this process so that it can be clear and comfortable for all. Thank you.
Thank you. The board wishes to thank the speakers tonight. Oh, yeah, I am. Oh. Thank you for speaking. Your willingness to speak to the board is appreciated. Now we are moving on to the consent agenda. Dr. Bingley.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. There are 20 items under this category, 16 consent items not previously submitted for information, and 4 consent items with prior information.
Does any board member wish to pull any items?
Yes, I'd like to pull F20 purchasing bids, specifically the Delta Dental, and I'd like to leave the remaining purchasing items on the consent.
Okay. Could you move? What is it?
Delta.
No, I know, but we have to move it.
F20 Delta Dental.
F20. I will entertain a motion to accept the consent. Anybody else? I'm sorry. Did you have anything? Okay, I'm sorry. I will entertain a motion to accept the consent items with the exception of F20. What?
So I made a mistake. It's not Delta, it's Solstice.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Move to accept with the exception pulled by Mr. Ziegler.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Krupp, seconded by Mr. Ziegler. Any discussion? Then let's vote on that. I know, I don't know what's the matter with it. Vote carries 5-0. Mr. Ziegler.
Thank you. Probably come as no surprise to anybody that I'm pulling for discussion, a purchasing approval for dental insurance. This one, of course, came on our radar screen when the agenda came out. We were notified in June. Unfortunately, I wasn't tracking it, and so I started looking at it. I think, first of all, that the bidders did a good job, and that it is very important that we bid things of this nature on a regular basis. So thank you to staff for addressing this. I'm not sure the last time this was bid. I think it's been quite a while, so probably due. I reviewed the bids on Monday, and I have some questions at this time, and I have some concerns. This particular bid, for the purposes of those that are listening, there's a committee that gets together and goes through the bid process. They look at the bids that are submitted, that are tabulated, and then they evaluate them on various different perspectives, and then they weight them and score them. So it's done in a very fair manner from that perspective. My first question is this, because this is specifically a expense which is for that employees pay, the board does not share in this expense of this insurance. We do not provide it to the employees. It's just an option that's available to them. Has any employee groups been consulted on this? As I understand it, even the SIAC, the Superintendent's Insurance Advisory Committee, did not chime in on this, and I'm very concerned because too often we make a change to something such as our insurance, and then we all hear from our members, oh, you've just cost me this much money and you've created this situation, and I'm very concerned about that in this case, which I'll get into why. So I would hope that we would consult with our employees and give them a chance to chime in on how this might affect them. Could you please?
It's my understanding that the Superintendent's Advisory Committee was consulted about the idea of going out to bid for dental. And in fact, on the group or the team that made the RFP or the decision on the RFP, we had a fully representative group of employees, including those who actually sit on the Superintendent's Insurance Advisory Council. So they were clearly aware of what was going on, and they voted on this bid along with everybody else that was part of the team.
It's my understanding the SIC did not. This was not reviewed by them. They were just made aware. And that's what I've been told, and unless somebody can tell me otherwise, I'm pretty sure that's the case. One of my concerns is what I've learned in all these years of researching healthcare contracts and some of the things we've been doing, and a lot of the expenses are not the upfront expenses. They're the back-end expenses, specifically on claims. I understand that looking at the schedules that presented by these bidders, and by the way, I think Solstice did a great job, so I'm not here to pick on them. I'm here to just point out concerns that we may not even be able to get answers to tonight. But Solstice scored very high on the rates for their procedures, which is great. However, when I reviewed the bid, I noticed in their fee schedule that there are asterisks on probably 25% of their procedures that, when referring back to what the asterisk means, always beware of the asterisk, there are numerous additional charges that can be incurred in these procedures, which, even though Solstice is cheaper on premiums on a monthly basis, anywhere from 95 cents a month, depending on what employees choose, up to $6.47 a month, any one of those asterisk procedures could wind up costing that employee a lot more than the savings in a year. And either somebody needs to tell me, no, those asterisks do not mean there'll ever be another additional charge to that employee getting that procedure, or I would like to understand that in more depth as to why. And also, of course, very important, were these additional expenses evaluated by the evaluation team?
I can speak to the evaluation team, and obviously Christy can as well. Christy ran the RFP. We consulted certainly with Willis as far as the pricing is concerned. In fact, Willis put together all the pricing in doing the comparison and presented that to the selection committee. Based on that, that's how we awarded the bid. As a result of that, I've asked Chris Wirtz from Willis to come here to talk about that process, on how they did the comparisons, and maybe he can certainly talk about the asterisks, because that's something that we asked them to look at when we put the bid together. So I'll turn the time over to Chris.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Board. My name is Chris Wirtz. I'm with Willis of Florida. We're the consultant that has the pleasure of working with Brevard, and we've worked with you on other bids. And what we did as part of the analysis, and I brought up copies of the proposals over there just to kind of give you an idea. There were 7 different carriers that initially bid. So the evaluators that were part of the evaluation committee went through all of those proposals. If you've been through those, you'll notice that there's an extremely a lot of information, and our job is to try to capture the most relevant points and try to bring it into a format that everyone can analyze and make a sound decision based upon that. So we did that initially with the first 7 respondents, and then based upon those results, they narrowed it down to 4 finalists, and then those finalists had the opportunity of meeting with the committee and actually giving their presentation, and the decision was made based upon that. But as part of the evaluation, what we did is a financial analysis and a benefit analysis. And what we did with PPO, there's levels of coverage based on preventive, basic, and major services. So it's kind of easier to analyze that. But with a DMO product or a prepaid product, there's literally hundreds of covered procedures. As a matter of fact, Solstice has 347 covered procedures, and based upon that analysis, it appears that it was substantially more than Delta. But what we do is we look at the most commonly utilized procedures within those categories and provide a comparison by each carrier as to what the copay was. And as part of that, and what we do to identify the differences is highlighted green for those that are better by that carrier, and red, in this case, that's kind of orange, for those benefits that are not as rich as the incumbent. So it helps to kind of visually understand what the differences are. And instead of just, choosing random benefits, we do look at the ones that are most commonly utilized to give an accurate representation of the coverage that's available to the members. So when we looked at that, the committee, and I guess I shouldn't speak for them, but my impression was that they felt the coverage with Solstice was superior than that offered, currently through Delta. And just to give you a couple quick examples, for major services, The ones that we evaluated were crowns, pontics, partials, and just looking at the analysis, Solstice, the copay on the high plan was $240. The current copay is $395, and that was analogous to several of the other benefits in that category.
Agreed, and I see that you did that, and I agree that you picked frequently used procedures, but then again, those procedures will incur the additional fees from Solstice. Now, unless the question, though, is that considered in the evaluation? Because if not, then that's what I consider a hidden fee that employees might get hit with. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Solstice did a great job on their proposal. I just do not want to hear from employees that you stuck us with a plan that's going to cost us infinitely more when we're done with our service, especially when we're not footing the bill. I'm very concerned about doing that on their behalf.
Understood, and that's a very valid concern. I will say that as part of the proposals, the members did receive the full benefit summary. It does have the asterisks that you pointed out. I'm happy to invite up Solstice to talk about the very specifics with regards to those asterisks, but my understanding is they would not pay more for those services. But we, quite honestly, we're speaking in very general terms, and I'm uncomfortable saying in a blanket statement that there's no additional fees because all the carriers have exclusions, and there are limitations, and a lot of times the asterisks denote that certain procedures have a limited number of covered procedures. For example, you can't get a covered cleaning more than 2 times a year. And as with endo, perio, things of that nature that are maintenance related, it's not going to be an unlimited benefit. So it's hard to just pick one and say, you know, blanket statement, no one's going to
I agree. No argument there. It doesn't appear as that was considered as part of the evaluation because Solstice just rated so high on the fees, and based on the comparison that was put together, I could absolutely understand that they were rated that way. But I have my concerns, and I don't particularly need a guarantee on that right now. I'll just be honest with you. I still feel I need more information. But let's quickly move on to. I was glad to see that Solstice says they'll pick up full dental takeover, which means somebody in the middle of a procedure, when they go to the new plan, they will still be covered. But it wasn't clarified whether that included orthodontics, whether that would be taken over also. That would mean somebody in the middle of getting braces, and we change company, all of a sudden they're not covered, and they're going to pay full fees to the orthodontist.
Correct.
So that's not clear in there whether that's included or not. And along that line, I also had noticed that for some reason this plan only covers children up to age 19, not up to age 25 like the others. And I did mention that while I was reviewing the bids on Monday, and I see that question was actually addressed to Solstice, and that Solstice came back and said that they would then honor the same plan that we had with Delta, which now, other than the fact that I was concerned about that, now my question is that legal for them, Mr. Beislein, to go back to just one vendor and ask them to sweeten a particular item on a bid?
Mr. Ziegler, I don't have enough information to, to answer that question.
But I'm happy to address that from our industry perspective. With regards to what age dependents are covered to, it's really normally, and I've been doing this for quite some time, it's always determined by the employer. Matter of fact, that was somewhat basically what Solstice said, is you can absolutely cover them up to age 30, but we don't look for proof or anything like that. So that's really something that's common within the industry, that the employer during implementation would set out their guidelines with respect to benefit waiting periods, dependent age coverage, and things of that nature. So that wasn't really a big concern for us.
And I can understand that, but I'm concerned from a board perspective, from legality of the bid process, whether we can actually go back to one vendor and say, can you sweeten this a little, but not give any other vendor an opportunity. And that throws concern into us even awarding it at this point in time, because I'm not sure that's appropriate procedure to do that.
So overwhelming.
And I realize a lot of this is kind of deep a concern, but there was just many things on here that at this point in time, and I'm not here to say don't approve Solstice. I'm just not ready to vote on this at this point in time, because there are too many questions in my mind personally, I would like, and I have other things I can address, but what I want to get at is I'd like to postpone this until the next meeting, especially in light of that last change that was just made, until we get legal clarification that we can do that.
Are you talking about the clarification on how long coverage will go for up until age 30, which is something that we got clarification from the vendor on?
But the bid specifies one thing, and now we've gotten it changed after the recommendation of award, and I'm not sure that's proper procedure.
From a procurement procedure, and obviously Harold can give some information on his thoughts on that. Once a bid has been awarded, that's the time, as long as purchasing is involved, we can clarify questions before the board actually votes on it. As long as the purchasing department is involved in those discussions, there is no violation of the state statute in regards to purchasing procedures.
Okay, so purchasing could go back to a vendor and ask them to change their offering or make their offering better without giving another vendor the opportunity to do that.
I think it was a matter of clarification. That's what we were looking for.
According to the bid, they're only covered up to age 19. Now, after clarification, they're covered to age 25, although I don't see any change in documentation to that effect. And so, one, we need a clarification documentation. Two, can we actually do that? I didn't think we can do that without giving all bidders an equal opportunity. Not awarded until we vote on it. It's fine, recommended. Again, I'm asking for clarification on that.
But if you look at the scoring, if that was the only issue that people got to change on, I mean, the scoring on this company was so much better than the others. It wasn't even close. So,
right, but we don't have clarification that we've considered the extra expenses. Employees haven't been consulted, and I'm not ready to make a decision on this right now. If I'm forced to vote on this now, the answer is no. But I would like to see this postponed to get clarification on some of these things before we vote. That's all I'm asking, is to postpone this till our next meeting.
I'd like to hear from him on the orthodontics.
Okay.
Whether or not that's going to...
Yes, thank you. And one other thing that I neglected to mention, as part of our RFP process, we did put out a questionnaire that addressed a lot of the things that you just mentioned, including ortho in progress or work in process and things of that nature. And our understanding is, and Solstice is actually here, so if you'd like to hear them address it specifically, I think they'd be happy to, but they will cover that. Okay, is it okay that they speak to that?
Sure.
And they could even talk to your asterisk question as well, if that's okay. I'd like to introduce Carlos and...
Before Solstice speaks,
sure.
could I ask Mark Langdorf, what is the urgency or the timeline that we have here? Is time of the essence on this particular RFP?
Yeah, that's my concern as well, Mark. Because
urgency, and it's more with respect to implementation and communication.
You know, my concern is that if we wait any longer, it's, you know, we're going to start into the process of choosing all the rest of our benefits, and this isn't going to be there, and that's going to create a whole nother level, which is going to delay a whole bunch of other things, which is going to create another problem.
It certainly would. The next board meeting is October 14th, which is the opening of our benefits period. So to not vote on this tonight would necessarily end this process because we couldn't award based on your vote. So there's...
So in other words, we're up against the wall again. And the board doesn't have a whole lot of choice on being able to evaluate something. This is not the first time this has happened. Just another year, another same problem. Well, if you all want to call the question, I'm going to vote against it, but because I just have a problem with that we have a week to analyze something of this depth to decide whether we like it or not. So again, I would make a motion to postpone. If that creates a problem, I'm sorry, but it creates a problem for me being up against the wall.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second? No second. So what? The motion dies for lack of second. Okay. Now, do you want to answer some more questions?
Did you have interest in talking to
Yeah, would you please answer some questions for us? Talk about the asterisk, the orthodontic, and...
It'll be my pleasure, ma'am. My name is Carlos Ferrero. Good evening.
Can we...
I'll try to answer some of your questions that you've already asked. As far as the orthodontia is concerned, it is standard practice to take over with our company. We've been doing it for many years. As a matter of, it's just a matter of practice. One important piece that we talked about the ages of children, it is a point of clarification because our plans are filed with the state of Florida. So nothing's changed. We filed these plans a couple of years ago. They're today being used with state of Florida employees, so it's the same type of standard as far as ages are concerned that the rest of the education state of Florida employees, the universities, West Palm Beach, et cetera, use today, and based on the plans that we have filed. So this is not a unique plan to Brevard School Board, I apologize. It's something that's been standard for a while.
Okay.
Could you address the asterisk?
Sure, absolutely. As Chris has said earlier, there's 340 procedures or so covered within the plan. There are limitations on when some of those things happen, and we specifically put asterisks on those to protect the employee, to protect the member, because what it does is cap off what a doctor can charge a member. So if there's a laboratory that goes out there and a member says, okay, I want extra gold or whatever it is that they may want, a doctor can't charge any more than what the limits are. So it's set for a protection of the doctor, not to induce more money. I mean, of the member, not to increase the number of money the doctor can collect, because that's the way we can audit it and find out that our members are really taken care of correctly.
Let me read from your...
Yes, sir.
Co-payments marked by an asterisk do not include the cost of material and laboratory fees. Additional cost to patient is as follows. That contradicts what you just told me.
In the back of each one of the exclusions, it says what the limit is, sir.
It's not a limit. These are additional charges to the patient.
Additional charges is up to, in the back. Just got my glasses.
We don't, see, I'm not asking to debate any of this here. I'm asking for time to understand it better. But apparently that's not an option to us because we're, again, up against the wall. But again, I'm not comfortable making this decision on behalf of our employees and then them coming to me and telling me that it's going to cost them more. Not yet. I'm not ready to make that decision.
Okay, is there any more discussion? Any more questions?
Anybody have any more questions for me, though?
I don't. Okay. No, we don't have any more questions for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Good
you.
evening.
Yes, Ms. Nisi.
Dr. Bingley, I don't know who to ask this to, so I will ask you. Why was a RFP or a contract of this magnitude put at this date and time? Why wasn't it on the last month's? Why did we wait till the last minute for this to come up, something of this magnitude?
I am definitely going to defer that to some of our folks as far as when this process unfolded and began and so forth. So Ms. Pace or Ms. Stanley or...
There are actually two issues with that. One is that we originally worked with our current provider to try to negotiate consistent rates or an increase that was not going to be prohibitive to our costs. When we realized that that was not going to be possible, that's why we decided to go out for RFP. That's also the direction that we've had from this board in terms of trying to make sure we're being competitive. The second piece in terms of why this timing is off is that because of our other agreements that have already been approved by the board tonight to change the way we're offering open enrollment and have individual counseling for our employees, we had to move in open enrollment up by 2 weeks to allow us a full month to complete that process, as opposed to our ordinary 2 weeks of open enrollment where individual counseling is not provided, which caused us to kind of come up against this timeline. And I do apologize on behalf of the staff for that process, but it's kind of all been the perfect storm in that regard. I would add, with all due respect, if I may, that on the committee for the RFP, we did have all three employee groups represented. Dan Bennett was on the committee to represent BFT, Patrick was there as our 1010 representative, and Anne Marie Brush represented our retirees.
Okay. It was just brought to my attention that what we could do if, okay, we can't wait till the next board meeting, but we do have a workshop on the 6th. That we could have a short meeting beforehand to approve it, then to give you time to get your answers if that is the other option that we have. Fortunately, it's far enough out, but not too far out. That would still give you 9 days.
I'm sorry, I wasn't aware of the workshop, or else I would have made that suggestion.
And I'm
okay.
fine with that, because I don't want to have to vote against
Well,
solstice, but I
we
would at this
actually
time.
need-
I will make a motion to postpone to the workshop.
Second that.
Okay, you want to take a vote?
We have a question on that.
Voice vote.
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Oh, any discussion?
What is your timeline, Mark, for if October the 6th it is voted in? What happens then? What timeline do you need to meet to make for the offerings to be given out to the employees?
I think the troubling thing has more to do with getting the information to all of our employees. I think the troubling issue with that is getting information out to all the employees through the brochures that are being prepared through the AFLAC item that went up earlier this evening. They're printing a document that they're making about 10,000 copies. They're going to be presenting that to all employees in their one-on-one meetings to discuss insurance offerings and the like. So it might delay that. But we'll work with whatever timeline the board wishes for us to work.
Pace, what is the absolute drop-dead date that we need to have this? If it's October the 6th, then how many days between then and when you have to present to the employee?
We are scheduled to begin open enrollment on October the 14th. You know, as Mr. Langdorf said, we're going to work with whatever timelines this board provides for us and direction the board provides. It just may be that the dental information is late in coming, but currently we have training for the benefits contact scheduled for next week, followed by beginning training for AFLAC with their independent counsel the first week of October within that. So these are all the kinds of things that we've been trying to put into motion. The plan was to add a dental page late as an add-in, so we can continue to do that with the booklet if that's what we need to do. It just makes it a little bit more complicated.
Right.
And again, we've done the best that we can in getting it to you as soon as we could.
I have to tell you then, as an employee and an educator in this county for 45 years, I opted out of any dental plan that was ever presented to me in 45 years. We've never had a decent dental plan. Even though it's been cheap, you get what you pay for. And I think that this particular plan is heads and definitely much better than what we've had in the last 45 years. So, I applaud the people that went out for the RFP and researched all of that data.
That's a huge amount.
And put it all together and sorted it out. I think at this point in time, I would have to say that this is a better plan than I've seen in 45 years.
Oh, yeah. Dr. Murray?
Yes, I understand Mr. Ziegler's reservations, but, again, staff have assured us that there was representation on all these committees. That representation is knowledgeable, and I'm going to have to respect that and the recommendations from staff. I think we would probably be creating a far greater problem logistically if we delay this tonight, and I will not vote to delay it. We need to move on and respect our staff in doing the jobs that we appoint them and pay them to do.
Okay. Chair, can we call for question on Mr. Ziegler's original motion?
Okay, so we need...
To postpone, we need to vote on that.
Okay. We have to do a voice vote on that. All those in favor?
If that's a motion to table, it has to have a second.
It did.
Oh, it did? Okay.
The first one did. It was moved by Mr. Ziegler, seconded by Mrs. Nisi to delay the vote until October 6th. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Okay, now call for the question.
To award.
Now I need a motion. Right?
We need a motion to approve the recommendation to award the solstice.
Right.
Move to approve the superintendent's recommendation for the dental award for the RFP.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Krupp, seconded by Dr. Murray to approve the superintendent's recommendation on the dental. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Yes, we have. They were all included in consent.
Yeah. So all those in favor were, say aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
So motion carries 3-2. Okay. Whew. Now, where are we? Okay, that brings us to the action agenda, Dr. Bingley. I know, hard to catch up, I know.
Thank you, Ms. Henderson. Under this category, we have item G36, which is to authorize the superintendent to advertise for a public hearing to approve the changes, deletions, and/or additions to 0140 and the 1,000s, 3,000s, 4,000s, 6,000s, 7,000s, and 9,000s district policies series.
What are the wishes of the board?
To approve.
Second.
Moved by Dr. Krupp, seconded by Mrs. Nisi. Any discussion? Let's vote. That brings us to the information agenda. The information agenda includes items for board review and will be brought back for action at a subsequent meeting. No action will be taken on these items tonight. Dr. Bingley.
There are 5 agenda items under the information category.
What are the wishes of the board? I mean, anybody want to pull anything? Sorry. Okay, we're moving on. Are there any staff reports?
There are no staff reports on this evening's agenda.
There are no additional presentations. We are now at the board member report section. I would like to ask board members to please include any information requests to be placed on the board assigned tasks during this time. Let's see, Mrs. Nisi.
I just have 2 items. It's apparent tonight that someone to speak had someone sign their name for them since that individual was not here. And I guess I would request, especially when we have large audiences and people want to speak to the board, that only people that are here can sign. And to the extent possible, the people manning the desk over there need to ensure that only one person is signing and they're not signing for somebody else. That would be my request if the majority of the board agrees.
He said he was here. He was here.
He was here? He was here, he left, and thought he could come back and work. Okay. And that answers that. And just to make it clear, I thought I was pretty clear at the last meeting, but I will go on ahead and say, I never said that I spoke with the individual from Tallahassee. What I relayed to the audience and to board members is that I attended a board of directors meeting. There are minutes. That meeting is open to the public. You can contact FSBA. It was a very open meeting. That leadership in Tallahassee had made threats against all school boards, not Brevard County School Board, but school boards as a whole. And I think all of us up here did understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, all I can say is what goes on in phone calls that individuals have, which is where this conversation took place, you know, only the people on the phone know the conversation that took place. So anyway, thank you, everyone.
All right. Mr. Ziegler?
Thank you. We'll start off by letting all our employees, or I'll let all employees know, if by chance when we go to our new vendor, you get additional charges other than what's listed, please let our comp and benefits department know so that that vendor can take care of those over billings, or what's sometimes known as balance billings. One of the speakers brought up an interesting point, and everybody in the audience chuckled about maybe board members should take a test to qualify for the job, which kind of speaks to a pet peeve of mine, in that I believe that all elected officials should learn what they're doing, and to let our audience know that there is such a thing as a certified board member, which I believe all of us hold that here, and that means that these board members that we go to regular trainings and keep up on things, just like a realtor would get their license, and I believe that's available to city council people, county commissioners. I don't know about legislators. But I think it's important that those people in positions of leadership continue to develop their skills, just as we try to help all of our employees develop their skills. So that was actually a very good point. Also like to thank Opt-out Brevard for supporting the cause that was discussed many times by this board, and we'll be discussing at the workshop on the 6th as far as what we can do to lessen testing, because this is bigger than just the board. We need the community to speak up to the legislators, leaders at Tallahassee, even the federal level, to see if we can't do something about high-stakes testing and bring it into a reasonable level of control that's not overbearing. So thank you to them for stepping up and helping.
Nothing for Dr. Murray? Dr. Krupp?
Thank you. And again, I just wanted to mention that Opt-out Brevard, as well as the Lee County, and we might also want to look at the School Board of Palm Beach County and their resolution on accountability. I printed that out because I think that we might want to take a look at that on October the 6th for our workshop. The bottom line is that Lee County and Palm Beach County, and they want to put pressure on the governor and the legislators. Now, regardless of what was said by Senator Getz, our superintendent, 65, 66 other superintendents have all addressed the legislatures about this problem in one manner or another.
Oh, boy.
And it's fallen on deaf ears. And so the only way that anything can happen, because it is in state statute, that you won't get a diploma unless you pass the state assessment test, then you have to put pressure on the legislators to change that. You can speak all you want about opting out and taking my kid out of testing and one thing or another, but the bottom line is they aren't going to graduate unless they follow the state statutes, or unless someone at the legislative level in DOE have come together and said, okay, we're not going to do this. We're going to take it back. We're going to have a do-over. Kids all know about do-overs.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, I just wanted to read one or two sentences out of their resolution. It says, be it resolved that the School Board of Palm Beach County calls on Governor Scott, the Florida Department of Education, and the state legislature to provide a 3-year transition to July 1, 2017 for full implementation of Florida standards and accountability with no impact on students. That's the bottom line. And parents, whether you're part of any opt-out organization, you need to start addressing the governor and the legislators to get your voice heard. They're not listening to us. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Murray.
Well, I just want to piggyback on Dr. Krupp a little bit, and a comment that I made to someone today is I think it's important that the public understands that the school boards are somewhat walking a tightrope on this, and it's important that school districts and school children are not on the front line of the firing squad.
Exactly.
What needs to happen is the public, the voters, need to put the legislature on the front line of the voting firing squad in order to make change. There are cases in this state, they go back, I think it was 15 years ago, maybe more, where a particular school district superintendent, not in this area, but somewhere else in the state, did stand up very forcefully in the school district to the legislature at that time, and funding was withheld from that school district. So I want to make the board aware of that. And it's not that we don't have the courage to speak, it's just the fact that we really do have to be strategic with this. Anyone knows that I am not a wimp in any shape or form, but there is a reality check here, and again, it's important that the public take control of this, because they're the ones that are going to have the greatest impact, and the timing of it, with being an election year, couldn't really be better, because we have been speaking about this for many, many years. So the timing is very good for some change to occur. And I believe Dr. Bingley is going to be meeting with the state superintendents tomorrow on this again. And again, the public and the voters are the ones that are going to have to become very vocal on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Murray. And I'm just going to piggyback on that. This is an opportunity for all communities across the state of Florida to come together. on the same thing, because we're all feeling the same thing. Once they put those thousands of tests back on end of course for every kid, and knowing that we don't have the funding for it, we can't create them, we don't have the man hours, we don't have enough staff here to do it, we don't have enough infrastructure, we don't even have enough computers. In reality, these kids will have to be starting their end of course tests in February to get them all done in time. I mean, again, maybe not February, but you know what I mean. It's going to take a long time to get all those tests done on top of all the other state testing. It's a unique opportunity, and we should not squander that. And so I want everybody to think about how we can work together to move forward to make a difference for our kids, because they deserve that. Okay, and I want to just remind the board that we need to revisit the school closure list if the half-cent sales tax does not pass. We had previously discussed that we would have Mr. Theodore go back and give us areas of where school closures might occur prior to the vote, and which areas could be affected. And I want to know if the board wishes to direct Mr. Theodore, now that we have our latest numbers in, to go back and revisit and evaluate that to bring back to us at the next board meeting. Yes, Dr. Murray.
I would just like to say that I think it's just very important that we educate our parents as soon as possible. So I would support getting that information out well ahead without causing any panic, of course. But I think that the public deserves to know what can happen either way. So I would support Mr. Theodore coming back with some information for us.
Okay, anyone else? Yes. Oh, Mr. Ziegler, then Dr. Pepper, then me.
I had brought the question up several months back because our original direction was to specify schools. And I asked the question of the community to let us know, who does specifying schools benefit, notifying you about closure, any of this. I've gotten zero input from anybody being concerned about that information. And then we moved towards just geographical areas, which some people said, well, that makes a little more sense rather than threatening, or feels like threatening an individual school, putting the fear into that community. And I've had really nobody even come to me on that and say they wanted to know that. So this topic, in my opinion, has been dead for quite a while because the community just doesn't seem to be interested in the information. I've literally had zero people ask for any of this. I would not support individual schools, but I would support the geographical areas if that's what this board wants to do.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Krupp. Oh, Ms. Nisi. Ladies first.
He said what I was going to say is that geographical areas, I don't want to name schools.
Yes, okay. Dr. Krupp?
I would concur, and just to remind everybody knows from the last time we ran this scenario, the public said, well, had we known you were going to close these schools, we would have voted the other way. So I think any information and all information we need to put out there, and forewarned is forearmed, and go that route.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Murray?
I think to just put geographical areas out there is just dancing around. Now, maybe I can be a little bit more bold because I'm not running for re-election, but I'm just saying that the public and the parents deserve to know exactly what's going on. And to do geographical areas is dancing around the facts. People aren't going to pay attention till it's after the fact. And then they're going to come back and say, again, you surprised us. I wasn't aware. Do you really want to go through that again? And it's, like I said, it's not going to affect me because I'm not going to be here at that point. But I don't understand the reluctance to provide information to our constituencies because I really think they deserve to know all the particulars in this case.
Okay, well, I'm going to speak to that because first of all, to go down to the school level at this time there's a whole lot more work to get to that, because you'd have to be figuring out which boundaries, you know, I believe that giving the general area, you know, whichever that is good, because if we don't have to go any further, we don't. We're done. If we do, then we know that those are the areas that he can bring forward. I have no problem with the general areas, rather than freaking out a whole bunch of people at one school for hopefully no reason. Dr. Bingley, you want to weigh in?
We just needed direction.
Okay.
You actually summed it up, what you had left with us, and that was following the enrollment counts, that we would have clusters of schools which are representing those areas.
Right.
And that's just the direction that we needed before we asked Mr. Theodore to.
Mrs. Nisi?
But those areas will list the schools that are in those clusters, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
What I would like to add to the fact that let's not penalize schools that were built to a certain capacity and then we close them because they may be at 92 or 93% capacity of, say, of a 500 built school, elementary school, because there's capacity at a neighboring school that was built to house 1,000.
Right.
So it tears apart our communities and the cultures that have existed at those schools for many, many years.
Well, let's just hope we don't have to go down this path, because people are going to support funding schools this time. Dr. Murray?
Well, I think that's the very point. You know, I don't know that we can actually say, I don't know that we can start playing around at this point with, well, we're not going to close this school because of this reason and this criteria or this one over here. Because it all boils down to one thing and one thing only, and that's money.
Yep.
That's money. And so that's what it's all about, the half cent, the referendum, and if it doesn't go through, God forbid, the facts will become the facts. They will become that which is given. And the board at that time will be forced to do some very unpopular and make some very difficult decisions. So, you know, already you can hear the tension between the board members up here just talking about whether or not to direct Mr. Theodore to bring back information. So this is a very difficult topic to address. And again, it hopefully and should be a moot point.
Thank you. Mrs. Nisi?
The reason I want the areas and the schools listed, you know, Dr. Murray, I understand what you're saying, but when you just name one or two schools, people don't realize that the receiving schools have boundary changes. Kids might still end up moving. So when you identify a region, it may not be their neighborhood school that's closing, but all the boundary lines. So that's why by identifying a region, those people are being put on notice, whether it's their school closing or not, their child's school still may change. Right. And that's why I like the geographic area.
Okay.
Well, and I appreciate that. I just have a lot of faith in Mr. Theodore's group of folks that they could provide any information that we request, and I think that information could come forward to the board and the community in a timely manner. Sorry, Dane. But
I think I got
hey.
3. I have 4 that say by area, so it is by area. Okay? FSBA Legislative Committee, we need a member for that. I was on it last. Do you want me to continue? Sure, you do a great job. Great, thanks. Guess that means I have to go to Tampa. Dang it. What?
You don't have enough on your plate.
I don't have enough on my plate. Okay, so I will do that. I want to remind everybody of the workshop on October 6th, 11 a.m. on something. What is it? October 6th. Legislative priorities. Yes, that's what it is. At 11 a.m., training room 3 and 4. And I want to know now if the board is interested in a strategic plan workshop on the 14th. We may not have all the
We won't have the additional information as it relates to the assessment, but most of the stuff that I've talked about.
You have
we-
what, 90%, 50%? 20%?
Probably 90% of the non-school grade measures. Yeah, I would say yes.
Okay. Ms. Nisi? Strategic plan meeting or not? Workshop?
That's fine.
I'm just questioning timing of it, that's all.
Okay, so we don't have to do it, I just want to make sure, because it was asked for a couple months ago, and we're now just getting around to it because we're getting the data. Do you want it or not? And you two
I was
are
going
not
to say, you're
be
going to
here,
have
so-
at least 2 new board members here
So-
that need to be
So we will
involved in
wait.
that.
I just wanted to make sure.
Might be
just-
wise to wait.
That's why I
Okay.
was concerned about the timing.
Okay, then we will wait on that. And I had, this is my last thing, but it was so much fun. I went to the Brevard Convening Empowering Effective Teaching. I loved it. I did it last year. Our teachers get together, they invite they invite administrators, which is something that not all school districts do, because now we have our teachers and our administrators working together. They put on these different classes. And I tell you, if you go to one of these, you are so empowered. And you see a different side of teaching and teachers, because every single person that is there is positive, and they all have all the same stuff thrown at them as everybody else, but they still want to teach, and they have so much fun doing it, and they're helping each other, and it is a great time. Our teachers, you come out of there just going, oh, it is so great that we have such phenomenal teachers who have such a great attitude about teaching our schools. And this is the second one I went to. The first one I went to, I was only able to stay for part of it, but went back the second day because I had to see more, had to go to some of the classes, and teachers put this on. And teachers come up with what they want to teach others, and it could be about technology, and it could be about, peer counseling or whatever, but it is, I just was glad to be able to go. I was thankful that I was asked to go, and I just want to say thank you to all the teachers who absolutely love their profession, and it shows. Thank you. All right, now, Dr. Bingley, do you have a superintendent's report?
Just very brief, I'll follow up with that. Thank you indeed for being there, and Richard Smith, shout out to you. You were there at the beginning of the convening. I make sure understand that has been supported by the Gates Foundation, who are very interested in building teacher capacity. The teachers that presented at this convening were those teachers that were part of another grant that the Gates Foundation gave us that allowed them to videotape their work, and we're using those videotapes. Our administrators, I think, Deborah, are using them to validate and some of their observational skills, but they're also being used, as in this forum, to provide additional support. Teachers, you are absolutely right, Ms. Henderson, Mr. Smith, you saw this. They connected with each other and said, wow, can you come out to my school, and can we talk further about those things? And you walk away and you are empowered by the notion that when, when teachers talk to teachers about teaching, good things happen. And so, and secondly, I will be, in fact, getting up at 4 in the morning, heading to Tampa. Yes, there are actually a few more what are called superintendent conversations, which is when they clear everybody, all the vendors out of the room and everything else, and say, now let's talk about some issues. And obviously, we have some very big issues to talk about. We will be talking with the commissioner on Friday. That's why we have so many superintendent.
Want to give them a message?
Well, we will be fashioning the message that we will be giving to her. So I will be coming back and letting you know what happened there. But and we're also actually talking with some folks, taking the opportunity in the evening to talk to the Gates Foundation about some additional support. As we move forward in trying to strengthen teacher capacity, because they're very interested in that and feel like, I think that they feel that Brevard has worked hard to try to strengthen that process. So it's going to be an interesting 3 days. I will tell you all about it. And thank you very much.
We wish you well over there and hope that you can get a message that could shake somebody up in Tallahassee. We're all sending you power in that. So, and anything else? This meeting is adjourned.